Hello people of the internet and welcome to day 25 of Red Instead Autism Acceptance. You know the drill. Yeah. Today I'm talking about puberty again. And actually this video is the reason why I made the other video about productivity, which but that ended up being way too long and I ended up cutting out this part and making this another video. So yeah, let's get on with that. And well, specifically the idea behind this is I found some slides from some sort of academic, I don't know what, to be honest, about autism and puberty. And there was one specific, it was just one bullet point on one slide, but that actually resonated with me a lot, and I never actually seen that with that described anywhere else. So, well, I wanted to talk about it, and I'd be very interested if anyone has had any sort of similar experiences to that. So yeah. And well, what the bullet point mentioned specifically, and I gave a really short explanation that I don't quite remember word for word, but what it called this thing I was describing was basically Godmode, which already is kind of a weird description, but what that was describing was this idea of, in some way, extreme arrogance, and I think you could, in a way, sort of correlate that a little bit with the character of Sheldon in The Big Bang Theory, that sort of arrogance of I'm better than everyone else, but it's kind of just what it was described as was an experience, was a sort of phase of puberty, but specific to autism. And well, that idea resonated with me a lot because I did sort of experience that. So I wanted to talk about, that a bit more than one bullet point. And talk about, well, where do I think that comes from? Yeah. So I think sort of this appearance in a way of being arrogant, this sort of idea of I'm better than everyone else. It can sort of, there's a few, I think, effects and experiences that can lead to someone young who maybe doesn't have that much experience with the world yet, sort of to draw that conclusion. And at least my personal experience was that went away again. It was sort of, I would say, that sort of, I guess, my God mode phase. It's a really interesting word. Was sort of, I know, between like maybe 14 and 16, something like that. Probably something like that. And then I sort of gradually got out of that again and decided that it was better to just accept everyone. I think I still seem arrogant sometimes to other people, but that's usually just because they misinterpret the autism, which can, of course, contribute to that expression in any age. So that's probably part of why that phase was coined as being arrogant. But I think there's more to that, because from my perspective at least, and of course that's a very subjective perspective about myself when I was younger, I certainly was kind of arrogant when I was like 15. So yeah. And I think first of all, the reasons for that I identified for myself, and I'll stop mentioning that, was first of all, I was kind of very, very logical, and because I had trouble identifying my own emotions, I sort of didn't consider them as even being present. And sort of I more or less relied on logic, very sadly. I'm not wearing the Spock t-shirt, and I'm wearing another, well, it says Mos Eisley, which you'll know if you'll know. This sort of logic, I relied on logic because emotions were kind of not something that I could really understand. But, because technically, we kind of in a very superficial way value logicalness as a society, in terms of that, logic arguments are preferred in school and so on, more or less. If you get too logical, people will complain, but anyway. And it's sort of often seen as superior to emotion, at least in certain areas. And so that can sort of lead to the false conclusion that because I'm always being logical and these people, everyone else is always acting so emotional, which I completely don't understand and get, I'm therefore superior because I don't do that. It's kind of like a false conclusion that can happen if you don't have a lot of knowledge about the world, especially. And then I think also with that, and I don't know, maybe with logic a little bit, I think part of it can also be a sort of high IQ comorbidity thing where, because some things may be a lot easier. And it might not even be, and it might not even really be that, but I've actually talked about intelligence / IQ in another video, so again, I'm going to have to link a lot of this videos, I don't know. Anyway, it can sort of, or for me that was a part at least, because I don't really need to learn for school, so I'm better than everyone, which, I don't really know. But, I think that can happen, and I think autism can sort of at least lead to expressing that a little bit more, because you're not really aware of the social, stigma of expressing that you're smarter than other people, which leads to other people seeing you as more arrogant than maybe you actually are. And then also, in a sort of similar way, I think, as autistic people, usually we have a lot more sensory perceptions, or at least, if you're very... A lot of us are very pattern orientated and can recognize patterns easily, and usually, in some cases you've already spent some time, studying your peers and figuring things out, and sometimes through that figuring, even though you might not have figured out how to make friends, figuring out things about social interactions that others haven't already, but also just general seeing, just noticing more details or hearing more things that can sort of lead to what I've sort of come to call the superhero conclusion, that noticing that you notice more and maybe see more details, see more patterns than other people, and think, well, I must be better than them. And I think a lot of puberty is just comparing to yourself to others, I guess. So, if you're doing that, and that's sort of the conclusion that you get to, it can be quite easy to sort of get a bit, And something else that can sort of add to that is that, a lot of things when you're autistic lead to you is that you're always being told you're deficient. Autism, in a way, already is, for most people, it sort of coins deficiencies in certain areas. It's not, but you just, if you're autistic, you just get told a lot that you can't do something, that you're not good at something, probably far more than what you're told you're good at. And so I think that sometimes this sort of arrogance and thinking, and probably also not just autistic people who are currently experiencing puberty, it's sort of a reaction to that, or it can be, I think, that instead of, always in a way believing that as a sort of, there's a specific word for that, I think, but I can't think of it right now, that instead of, believing everyone, you start believing the opposite, sort of. It's not reverse psychology, it's kind of the opposite, in a way. All of those things, I think, can sort of start playing together in a way to sort of create this effect that, I guess, if it ends up in a psychological, in some slides made by a psychologist, it's probably a pattern that is more universal to autistic people than I thought originally. So, yeah. I just think that's very interesting, and it's sort of, I don't think I've ever before actually saw something about puberty and the experience of puberty that I could actually relate to. That was sort of the first thing, really, that I've seen that I could actually relate to. So that was exciting, obviously, and I wanted to talk about it, and I've just done that. So there you go. And I hope that if you've enjoyed this, or maybe, I don't know if it was entertaining, but hopefully it's made someone think about something. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this, if you think this video was time well spent watching, I would appreciate it if you could, give it a like. Or if you haven't already subscribed to my lovely channel. I don't know if it's lovely, but and I will see you tomorrow. Oh, goodbye.